this way at the Dim Carnival. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And once again, we've stretched one episode to two. Congratulations to the listener. We are still talking about Psychopathics from Outer Space because we rambled on too long last time. So, bonus episode. What? Yeah. What? Yeah.
This one's for all of our Patreons out there.
Right.
Exclusive content. Can't get it anywhere else.
Whoop, whoop.
Dim Carnival exclusive. All right, well, it's kind of fortuitous that the week we are recording this album, shit, what the fuck is that? It is interesting and coincidental and some synchronicity that the week that we are taping this episode, Eminem decided to release a surprise album. And he released a new album called Kamikaze that proved that Eminem has evolved far less over the course of his career than a certain couple of wicked clowns that I can name. Because Eminem's just doing the same old bullshit over and over again. And he's just sort of getting worse as a rapper and still using slurs and just the same thing. Like, if you've ever heard any Eminem album, it's the same album. And you know, I'm sure many people can tar ICP with that same brush, but it certainly seems like ICP have grown significantly more as people, and I would say more as artists over the course of their career than Eminem has. And it's a career that spans about the same length of time. But what we're talking about this week off of Psychopathics from Outer Space is an Eminem diss track, the first Eminem diss track that ICP released, called Slim Anus. And if you have not listened to this regrettable track, you can do so right now. So I'm sure all of us laughed when we first heard this song. After this assignment, I don't believe I'll ever listen to this song again. I don't think I'll ever pull it up again. It's ICP, but mostly it's Jamie Madrox doing an Eminem impression by throwing lines into My Name Is, which was Eminem's first single. And you know what? God bless him. Jamie Madrox does a really good Eminem's first album impression of Eminem. If you want a really good current day impression of Eminem, check out the videos that Chris D'Elia has been putting up on his Twitter, because they're really incredible. He has been crushing what Eminem sounds like now. Ryan, I tossed a link to one of those up in the chat room of this very Skype session, and Steve's going to check that out later, but you can check it out whenever you feel like it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, tell me how you feel about this track in the year 2018.
Steve, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I think the first time I heard this, obviously it wasn't from this album. Again, I heard it from somehow, I don't even know, because I don't think I had the internet back then, but I somehow heard it from a Man-Cow interview.
Napster. Those are the only, that was like the only way you could get it back then, man.
Yeah, I must have ripped it. I didn't have Napster. I think I ripped it off of Lime Green. What was that called? LimeWire. So there's a few of these songs that I heard from LimeWire, and that was definitely one of them. And it was started off with Violet J and Man-Cow talking on the radio, and I thought it was super edited, but I feel like it's not any more edited than what this track that we listened to, or at least what I listened to on YouTube. I didn't listen to it on Spotify. And so it still seems like really edited, I guess. Maybe that's part of the whole thing. I don't know. It's part of the joke. But I remember thinking it was hilarious. I didn't know who Eminem was, so I had to figure out who that was. I remember Bill and I talking a lot about this whole thing. Back then I did ministry work, and because of the whole Eminem ICP feud, I had been part of a group called Young Life, and I remember we took a bunch of kids up north to camp, and I was given the rough kids because I grew up in the rough side of town in Salinas, and so I had a lot of African American and Hispanic kids in my group that I was chaperoning. And on our trip up, they were talking about Eminem, and I made a joke about Eminem, and then I mentioned ICP, and then they wanted to know who ICP was because they had heard Eminem making fun of ICP. And then I told them, because we were traveling for 3 or 4 hours, and I got to tell them all about how awesome ICP was. And
gather around, children.
That was exactly what it was. And
you turned your bus seat around backwards.
Well, God damn it, it made those kids like me more. And I swear
God damn it, yeah.
It did. And it was hilarious, and it was really funny. It was a really interesting trip, just the whole thing in general. But to be able to start it off and win these guys over, because I ended up having kids that had pipes. They looked like cigarettes, and they were smoking pot. And they should have been sent home, but I wouldn't send them home. And it was just a really funny thing. And I just won their respect by telling them who ICP was based on them knowing who ICP was as being dissed in Eminem songs. Mm-hmm. And I just remember loving this song and thinking it was the greatest, and then listening to it for this project or this assignment, and as I was listening to it, I knew that it was going to be awful, and it was bad. Mm-hmm. It was just so not cool. Yeah. And it's one of those things that was embarrassing again, of some other songs from the past where we talked about, oh my God, I love this song so much. And then now in 2018, it's embarrassing to say I liked it. And yeah, this is one of those songs. And I really did not like it. I listened to it once, and I'm done.
Yeah. So I had definitely heard of Eminem when this track came out, because I remember watching MTV, and when My Name Is came out, I was blown away, as most people were who liked rap even a little bit, when this track dropped in 99 or whenever it dropped. It was single that was released in advance of his album coming out, and I think that at the time the video came out, the only thing that you could buy from Eminem nationally was a single that had this track and I Just Don't Give a Fuck on it. And I remember I was so into My Name Is that I could not wait for the Slim Shady LP to come out, and I bought it on the day it came out. I was super into it. I went to Eminem's first show in San Francisco on his first tour. He got in a fight with someone in the crowd, and it was my first hip hop show, and it was the crowd was 99% white people. So I was definitely very familiar with Eminem. I don't remember how I came across this specific Sliminess track. It's possible it was one of those 4 singles that were in the Pendulum comics, but probably not. But I do have a very distinct memory of when I heard it for the first time. Again, I don't know how we heard it, but Steve, I don't know if you remember this. I remember listening to this track in Jerry's bedroom at the local oddity house. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So that was the first time I heard it, and we all cackled about it. I have always had a problem with the fact that they can't even get their homophobia correct by calling it Slim Anus, and the whole song is about how much he gets things stuck up his butt. So I don't know because I just feel that that's just sloppy. Because if you're gonna be this homophobic and this like gay bashing in a song, at least be consistent with your ethos here.
Maybe they had enough experience with anal sex that they knew that doesn't always blow your asshole out unless you like start gaping it.
Yeah.
I think it's that he's slim and
sure.
that he isn't.
Yeah. You're right. I just want to say gaper.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, so the only positive thing I will say about this track is, one, Jamie Madrox's 1999 Eminem impression completely on point. Two, they do a pretty seamless job of integrating Jamie Madrox's new lyrics into My Name Is. Those are the nicest things I can say about this song, because it's one long gay joke, and it's just like the joke is that Eminem sucks because he's gay. So go ahead.
I will say, listening to it this time through, what was like most impressive to me was that, you know, you had Jamie Madrox doing a decent impersonation of Slim Shady and all that stuff. But first off, Violent J's Dr. Dre is awful.
Yes.
And then Dr. Dre is so rich and cool and just whatever that he didn't give a shit. Even when Eminem took the bait and fought them, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Dr. Dre ever gave a shit. He didn't even care that they were making fun of him and using a terrible hallucination of him. And he's just like, yeah, whatever.
I don't.
Like,
to this,
I'm
to
too
this,
rich to. He may not have even heard it.
Yeah, to this day, there's no way you could convince me that Dr. Dre has ever once heard of ICP or knows who they are.
Right. Yeah, he definitely.
And that's
doesn't
what
care.
I think is brilliant. I think that's the biggest takeaway in 2018 listening to this, other than like gross, is that the Dr. Dre didn't give a shit, and I just think that's brilliant.
But I think that every time Dr. Dre pops up, or the terrible Dr. Dre voice that pops up in these Eminem diss tracks, he will turn up again. I never take it as they're making fun of Dr. Dre. I think they're always just making fun of Eminem's relationship with Dr. Dre and the insinuation of like, there's no way that Eminem would ever have been this popular if a rap god hadn't treated him favorably.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, with being labeled as a homosexual in a diss, to make someone like Dr. Dre a homosexual still seems to me like it would be a diss. Like if they're in prison, maybe you could get away with like, if you fuck a dude in prison, you're not gay. But like in the outside world, that's not true. So I still
I'm wrong.
I
don't know how
I'm
deep.
off on that.
I don't know how deep you want to get into like the down low culture and like, you know, the ability to have sex with men while identifying as straight, which is definitely a thing. I think definitely the positioning and like the supposed positioning of Eminem specifically as a bottom, I think that it's, I mean, it's a song intended to say fuck Eminem.
I agree. But if being gay is an insult, then being a top versus a bottom doesn't make a difference. Maybe I'm looking too much into it.
I mean, I think I'm into it, but like,
from that point of view,
I do think that within homophobia and gay bashing, like I do think there is a hierarchy on like if you view homosexuality as being lesser, I think that there is a hierarchy within homosexuality of like, well, at least that gay person is doing the fucking instead of getting fucked.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan,
absolutely.
am I off base here, or is this all just defensive content?
I'm trying to be very, very like open about this. Too.
Well,
I'm not trying to be like offensive, and I don't think you are either, Bill.
Yeah, I'm revisiting like my personal past of like being Christian and like looking down on people for having lifestyles that I didn't understand at the time or viewed in a bigoted way at the time. And I feel like, especially within the hip hop culture and within a culture of people who likely knew people who were on the down low or knew at least a little bit about that culture and certainly more about the culture than I understood at the time. Like, I think that there is, and I think probably to this day, there is among people who hate gay people, they probably hate types of gay people more than other types of gay people.
Yeah, I agree.
But I want Ryan to chime in because he's the more level-headed of any of us. So
yeah.
I don't have an opinion on that. I wish that this character that they're singing about, I wish that this was real. I wish that it was a real song that Eminem made and that this was actually who Eminem was.
Yeah.
It would be so much better if this song was sincere.
Yeah, just like a super chill like gay dude who likes to like do it, right?
If a rapper comes out and writes a lyric that says, "A guy at White Castle asked for my autograph, so I signed it, dear Dave. Thanks for the support. Nice ass."
Yes.
That is fucking genius. That is amazing.
Also, can I have the attention of your ass?
Right.
And but I do have to point out that "Can I have the attention of your ass" has a pretty good Genius annotation, which says, ICP parodies the line, "Can I have the attention of the class for 1 second?" making M sound like he wants to bang listeners' asses.
I like the line when he says, there's a couple of very clever, I do feel I agree with what Steve said before. There's kind of feels heavily edited and choppy, like it's not super clean. I like that I agree that the impression is very close. And actually I at the same, I felt similarly about the song, when it came out as you guys. I thought it was very funny. I was actually living out of the country when Eminem became a thing. So when I moved back to the United States, I was corresponding with my friend Robbie, the guy who introduced me to ICP, and I was like, "Hey man, I've been off the map for a little while, so what's going on? What should I check out with music?" And one of the first things he said was, "Oh well, everybody's super into this guy Eminem right now, so you might want to check that out." Well, within the same day, just like I was back at my mom's house or whatever, I just moved back to the United States. And I turned on MTV as I was like unpacking and getting situated, and it came on, the video came on within a few hours or whatever. It was on like heavy rotation. On MTV at that point. Yeah. And so I saw it, and the comic nature, the lampooning of other pop culture people, music people, it was witty and it was funny. I was super into Eminem right away. I went out and bought that record just that day, probably, I think, from seeing that first video. And it was already huge at that point. Like everybody, it was like not, a new thing at that point. And so then it was really funny to me when, and I, it's, I don't know what you guys thought about it. You went to see him in concert and stuff. I always thought it was a bit cheeky. And just like something to kind of indulge and have, like, it's like a piece of candy or whatever,
Right.
Is kind of how I always viewed Eminem. So when I found out that there was beef between them, like you started to hear these stories, I don't even remember how they started coming up, that there were these incidents at nightclubs and that there was, some beef going on between, ICP and Eminem. I thought that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, obviously, I'm ride or die wicked clowns. Like in this side of the argument, like it wasn't even a choice. Like as soon as I found out there was a thing, I was like, oh well, obviously ICP's rad, Eminem's terrible. And so this just seemed like, I remember hearing about this, and that I feel like I also had to download it to get access to it, because they had played it on that radio show that you were saying, Steve. Is how it kind of got released or whatever. And so hearing it, I was like, oh, this is the most probable. I think this would be the thing that would infuriate Eminem the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a shitty joke, right? There's no class in this song. It's a horrible thing. But I think that it's as much them doing it, like, because they know that it's going to be the thing that irritates him the most. The way that they could spin it or whatever to target him or whatever, to make it as impactful as possible. But I also love that they were like, we don't even know you. Like, we're just going to do this thing because you keep putting our name in your mouth or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the beef allegedly stemmed from when ICP were like a big deal in Detroit, but Eminem was just sort of starting out. He was promoting a show and had flyers made, and the flyers said ICP might be there, but he hadn't talked to ICP about it. He was just using them to promote his show, and then he asked them after the fact, and they declined, but they were understandably upset about him trying to get people to come to his show by using the advertising the possibility that they might be there when there was no possibility that they might be there, and sort of like using his fame to get ahead. And then obviously you can see how Eminem hooking up with Dr. Dre and then being played every hour on MTV for an entire summer would like get under their skin. But the one thing that I think is interesting about the version of this song that appears on Psychopathics from Outer Space is the robot voice intro that says these stupid earthlings can't even get along with each other. And I like that they're sort of, it doesn't excuse anything, but I appreciate that they're admitting how stupid this is, that they've done this and that they're having a beef and that they're putting out a diss track and that they've resorted to doing this. Like, they're acknowledging like, yeah, this is dumb, but fuck it. We did it. We're doing it. But yeah, it's pretty regrettable. I don't, as we've talked about before, I don't think that this is anything that ICP would necessarily be like embarrassed by or try to divorce themselves from or walk back what they've done here. But I'm definitely never going to listen to it again. And it's a bummer that it exists.
Dr. Dre's butt's too sexy to hide. Take your pants off, Dre. I don't mind.
I think Ryan likes this song.
He goes, oops.
This is Ryan's favorite song.
You know what's funny? And I was saying that I first heard this song off of the Man-Cow thing, and I don't remember how I heard it, but I first heard of Eminem because of Bill. And I remember him showing me like me hanging out at his house, and him I guess we were probably watching MTV, and like the song came on because it was coming on every hour, and I remember him saying, "This is a Detroit rapper that's with Dre." And I remember watching it and thinking, "Oh my God, ICP's gonna blow up now because like Detroit is gonna blow up." I remember thinking something like that, and then to find out a little bit later that no, they're feuding and it's not going to be a collaboration, was even funnier to me.
I just do want to point out that Slim Anus talks trash about Pamela Lee, claiming that she doesn't know how to do Tommy Lee, and he'd suck his dick off.
But doesn't she do that in the video?
No, he'd suck his dick off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kind of like Face Off.
That, yeah, exactly.
I want to take your face.
Yeah. I want to suck your dick.
My face off. With your dick. Oh.
Yeah.
Like that shit, Joe?
But I just like the insinuation that that's how you really do Tommy Lee. You have to suck his dick so hard it separates from his body. All right, should we move on to the next track?
Yeah, can we please?
Yes. All right.
I don't like this song.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
The next track is another track that was recorded for Jekyll Brothers, but for whatever reason did not appear on Jekyll Brothers, and it features another legendary A-list talent. Talk about none other than Ice-T. So if you haven't listened to this track yet, go ahead and take a listen right now. Here's the thing about Ice-T appearing on this track. is it's not personal. It's business.
It was like he was doing an NYC or NCIS episode on
Law and
Fox or NBC or whatever those channels.
It's on Law and Order.
Law and Order, where he is a real life pimp arresting fictional pimps in a TV show.
Yeah.
I've always had a problem with that. I don't want to be killed.
So, according to Jeremy, and we haven't been able to independently verify this, but he seems to remember that there was some sort of poll to see whether Dead End featuring Ice-T or Bitches featuring ODB would be on Jekyll Brothers. And I guess this didn't win.
Well, that makes sense to me because this song sucks.
Isn't it like 12 minutes long? I feel like it never ended, and I maybe skipped it.
It is 5 minutes and 24 seconds long.
No, yeah, like I said, 20 minutes long.
So it's not. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 tracks on this album longer than this song.
I don't believe you.
Well, I'm sorry. Those are just facts.
You know what? I'm a creationist.
Oh. Cool. Well, this song was created in 6 days. This song is 3,000 years old. And it was created in 6 days.
I'm sorry.
No,
that was good, man. That was good. That's all I got for that song. Don't ask me no more. There's actually some lyrics in there that I thought was cool, but that's all.
Yeah, I think as with most of these kind of songs that kind of fall into the middle space with me, I tend to like Violent J's verse best.
Yeah.
I think Jay's it's all right, it's fine. Shaggy's verse is a fucking mess. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's doing all kinds of weird. I don't know what he's trying to pull off. But especially with the narrative of his thing, like I just don't know what's going on in his verse. But I do like he calls himself the Phantom of the Night Train, which is awesome. That's that's the only cool thing from him. And then Ice-T's verse to bring it home is just garbage. That doesn't even sound like Ice-T to me, right? Like I haven't heard like a lot of Ice-T, to be honest, just like the big stuff. But that's not even his style. Like that's not how he. Like, right? Am I wrong with that?
I don't know. I wrote 2 notes for this song. Ice-T / J-Rap's different / and I had nothing.
Is there an unimpeachably legendary MC? Like, is there an undeniable all-timer MC whose work you know less than Ice-T's work? I submit that there is not. Because, like...
He just didn't have a lot of hits, you know? He didn't put out, like, album after album after album.
Right, and as a result, I've listened to very little of Ice-T's stuff.
Right. I probably know what was his body count. I probably know more body counts than Ice-T songs.
Yeah, like if I think of Ice-T, the only song that really comes to mind is "Evil Dick," which wasn't even the single off of Body Count.
Right.
I just remember it because it was a song about an evil penis that was a heavy metal song.
Evil Dick, that song rules. Don't sleep alone, don't sleep alone.
Oh, God.
Evil Dick.
Evil Dick.
Evil Dick is a great track.
And if you haven't listened to Evil Dick yet, you can do so right now.
What I would rather talk to you guys about is the song that this song samples.
Okay.
Oh yes, nice.
A Black Sabbath song called "The Wizard." You guys familiar with this track?
Yes.
No.
So I am. Oh really? Okay, good. Because I'm sad to say that
is
I'm
it
not
off of Greenleaf?
Shit, man. I don't know what album it's on.
Because there's a few albums I really know some of their songs, and I feel like The Wizard is not off that album.
Yeah, I don't know what's. I mean, I can look it up. I can find out. But
It's off of a self-titled album from 1970.
It's off of what?
Their self-titled album from
Oh,
1970.
Jesus. No.
So
That
it
is
was
not what I thought
probably
it was.
on. Well, it was probably on a greatest hits album.
I can't remember the name of the album that has the first album, first song. Like, it's not Hysteria, because that's one. Damn it.
Master of Reality.
Master of Reality. Yes, that was what I was thinking it was off of.
Yeah,
That's my favorite. That's my favorite album of theirs.
Oh, nice.
I actually know a little bit of that music because of the band I used to be.
Guys, you know what Black Sabbath album is way better than anyone? Well,
Shut up.
You know what? Black Sabbath album is amazing.
What?
Mob Rules.
I don't even.
It's one of the Dio albums, and it's amazing. Because Dio rules.
we had, when I used to be in a band and we had the practice space, there were some Dio banners hanging on the walls. There's like two identical ones, and he's like holding a fist up and singing in the microphone. And I did that at so many shows because of that. And I hate Dio. But I would totally copy it because I could never be as cool as I do or sing as good as I do and do anything as
apparently and apparently the first the North American version of the first Black Sabbath album only has 5 tracks on it.
It's a 45-minute EP.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Well, this one's rad. It's about a wizard. I did up to 37. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's been a rough day at work, man. This has been super cathartic. I apologize.
So this song, The Wizard, if you're not familiar with it, which I wasn't, is about a wizard who basically spreads joy around the land. He like silently walks across the land, weaving spells, and everywhere he goes, he turns tears to joy, and everyone's happy when the wizard has come to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty awesome. Concept or whatever that kind of goes along. It makes me think a little bit of Malenko, a little bit of just the Dark Carnival kind of aspect or whatever, and this upcoming revealing that it's actually a positive thing to like, you know, whatever. I just thought that was kind of an interesting little side morsel.
Yeah, and it's also a through line sort of for not only ICP's career but also our fandom of ICP, where Wizard of the Hood is a track off of, you know, Dog Beats or whatever, and then Carnival of Carnage, and that's a concept that would sort of stay with Violent J. And then once he started smoking weed, his first big thing was that Wizard of the Hood EP that all three of us really love. That sort of kicked off the big second phase, because arguably the big turn for ICP around the Six Jokers card wasn't the fact that the Six Jokers card dropped. It was really basically when Jay started smoking weed, like that the creativity and the direction sort of changed, I feel. But you know, we're not there yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I don't know where it fits into the timeline, because I learned about it after.
Oh, yeah. No, Bill is right on with that.
Right as rain.
Right as rain.
Well, I can't wait till we get to that for
yeah,
for
so we can rub it
unspoken
in your
reasons.
face.
Yeah. So look for that in 2021, guys. When we get to
we just have like 17 albums still to do this
All right,
year.
Well, speaking of 17 albums, does anyone have anything to talk about regarding Redneck Ho 99? Because we did talk about this track when we talked about Carnival of Carnage, if you've been with us that long. But
I literally did not listen.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, nah, skip it.
All right, let's skip it. And we're also going to skip Somebody's Dissing You, which was off the original Most Tasteless by Twisted. But we are going to talk about The Amazing Maze, because this is a great song. And if you haven't listened to The Amazing Maze, you can check it out right now.
And you really should.
Yep. Guys, Ferris wheels and bumper cars, they're fun. But those rides just aren't for everyone.
I got my ticket.
Are you going to have a run?
Through the maze, yes.
Woo!
Dude,
it's a fun song, guys, and it introduces, of course, the fan favorite recurring characters Jeff Nipple and Jimbo-Jism.
I certainly have a lot to say about this song.
Guys, Jeff Nipple.
Jimbo-Jism.
All right.
Yeah, these announcer guys, both great.
I'm just trying to think of the thought process of coming up with a fake, goofy name and landing on Jeff Nipple.
It has everything to do with their continual interaction with the wrestling world and creating characters and creating storylines. It is JCW, not JCW. You know what I mean? Like, these guys would have been JCW announcers if they already hadn't created better characters for that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I feel like these are like...
Yes. I agree with you. And Violent J and Shaggy 2-Dope are very good at this. For example, Diamond Donovan Douglas, a.k.a. 3D, and a handsome Harley Quistella, better known as Guido. But... guys, please tell me I haven't talked about this before, but I have to bring it up since this has come up somewhat organically. Have I talked about the wrestler Chuck Taylor's bad made-up wrestling names?
No.
Okay.
Never.
So, Chuck Taylor is an amazing wrestler, and for most of his career he is a comedy wrestler, and lately he's been a more legitimate, like, serious wrestler, but he's still a goofy guy. Him and his real life best friend Trent, who have a tag team called Best Friends. They have an interview series on High Spots Network, which you should try and seek out some of these because they're hilarious even if you don't like wrestling. It's called Best Friends, but the unofficial name for the series is Poppin' Dogs and Talkin' Hogs, because basically they just talk about everyone's dicks for like an hour and a half. But it's great. It's very fun. But Chuck Taylor was involved in a storyline in the promotion Chikara a couple years back where he lost the rights to his own name to a wrestling manager who is otherwise known as Stokely Hathaway. But in that promotion, Stokely Hathaway became Chuck Taylor TM. And so Chuck Taylor had to have a new name because he didn't have the rights to use his name. So he started using a different name on every show. But he revealed on Talkin' Dogs and Poppin' Hogs that he had actually come up with an entire list of bad wrestling names, and he was trying to make the worst wrestling names of all time. And here is that list, guys. It's very good. Pud Nelson, Cuba Gooding III, Boomer Scarborough. This one is great because it's a real thinker. No gimmicks needed, Steve the Samurai. The Cucumber, Buster Norberg, Power Cat Jeff Winslow, the Human Thermometer Pat Joplin, Frank Grabass Hernandez, Danny Double Dip Dawkins, Adrian Dill Picklesby, the Midnight Oil Barney Stamp, Bareback Benny Fig. That one's an ICP name.
Yeah, that is Bareback.
Cool Dad Don Crenshaw, Space Homie Mike Smith.
1-800 Crenshaw.
Pro Bowler Benji Ball Return Roberts. Crooked Dick Johnny Hogg.
I follow this dude on Twitter.
So good. Dick the Hammer Dick. Handjob Dave Anderson. Six Dicks Deep David O'Neill. Jeff the Tit Baker.
Oh,
Lemuel Little Baby Dong Denver.
Ryan's not even laughing.
I know.
He's got us muted.
And, of course, All Sack Drew Gulak, which is great because Drew Gulak is an actual wrestler. That's
Yeah.
Right.
He's been wrestling with American flag trunks.
Yeah.
He's been doing some badass shit. He had a good match. Yeah.
All right. Well, Ryan wasn't interested in that, so that's not even all of them. But that's great. So go ahead. The Amazing Maze, guys.
So this is the other song for me that I couldn't find. And this is my second favorite ICP song of all time. Second to, oh Jesus, was it Jacob's Word. These are songs I found ripped, never heard them. Again, didn't know this album. And when I heard The Amazing Maze, it was just like everything I wanted in an ICP song. It was so awesome to me. Now, there is a part listening to it in 2018 that kind of bothers me because a dude gets raped because he's not cool with ladies, and I'm realizing now that that's not very nice, and so that bothered me, and so that upset me because I love this song so much.
Yeah.
But
at least that guy's name is Grim Love.
And, they called it a milk dud. I mean,
sure.
God, I have a story. I don't know if I should even share the story. I probably shouldn't. I may have shared it before, but, yeah. I mean, just every once in a while, I've showed this music to friends that are really close to me and happen to be gay, and I don't think about it being so homophobic and being really embarrassed after the fact. And this song is one of those things that happened to me, where I showed it to someone because I thought it was so great, and then realized halfway through it, oh my God, I shouldn't be showing my gay friend that I love very much this song, because, and they ended up being super cool about it, and maybe they were just being super cool about it because they're used to straight dudes, being dicks, and I think that's mainly what it was, and so I felt super awful, and so, I just have this, this issue with this song of loving it so much, but also being embarrassed by loving it so much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like, when I was driving from Northern California to Southern California with Pete one time, and I switched on the comedy station on Sirius XM, and we were listening to some comedy, and then a track came up, and it was this is it was either from Raw or Delirious, Eddie Murphy, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then it started, and I was like, oh, no. Because, there's no denying what a phenomenon those albums were, and there's no denying their influence on how they revolutionized stand-up comedy and comedy in general and changed the landscape of, what people found funny. But you cannot listen to anything off of either of those specials in the year 2018 or the year 2014 or whenever it was, because it's just, nonstop, gay bashing and just terrible, terrible stuff.
Yes.
So this song is easier to listen to than that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So bad.
This song has an extremely good annotation when they're talking about Rick the Dick at the beginning, when Jeff Nipple and Jimbo Jism were talking about him. The annotation says, Rick is one of many times ICP have used a straw man of a despicable human being as an outlet for whatever twisted and unusual punishment they have in mind for the song, which is a really astute observation.
Yeah.
Way more astute than I ever would have imagined appears on an ICP lyric annotation. Yeah, that's that question of the unreliable narrator, guys. are they torturing these people because they're really bad people, or are they just torturing and killing people because they are maniac murderers who are trying to come up with any justification to behave in this way?
Yeah, because he says the excuse that this guy's been thrown in there is because he likes to beat his wife or whatever and buy his way in and out of everything. Right? Is that what he says, or does he even say?
Yep.
Yeah. No, he says that. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy his way out of every. Yeah.
But in the last, well, whatever, just in what record was it? Where he says, on Most Tasteless, Jamie Madrox is doing First Day Out, right? The remake, and he says juggalos are known for smacking hoes, and we talked about that on a little bit on that track. But it's like, you have the same. This guy's being sentenced to this torture, which, by the way, this dude gets put through the ringer, man. Lots of bad shit happens to this guy. I can't wait till we talk about it. But yeah, I just think that's like it's kind of a weak argument, So yeah, I think that's a cool note right there.
Yeah, but I mean, they straight up in there, like you said. I mean, they just like, I forget how the line. I gotta look up the lyrics. Where it's just, what's happening to him is because of how he disrespected the opposite sex. And I'm just what you said. I'm like, oh my God, like you've done that for like fucking 14 albums at this point.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, not 14, but you know what I mean. Oh man, if I exaggerated, she said 7.
Well, I think this one, I can't remember the order of the sequence, but this was one of the Pendulum singles, right? The Amazing Maze?
Yes.
Yeah.
It might have been even the first one?
I feel like we got this was one of the 4 songs. I feel like this one I remember from the Pendulum, if I'm not mistaken. I said that I heard it from being ripped, actually, so I could be wrong. I think the biggest song actually from Pendulum that stands out to me is Toxic Love, so I'm going to stop talking about Pendulum. Never mind.
I didn't even know that song.
Toxic Love is a great song. I can't wait to talk about it.
The only songs I can say with absolute certainty that I heard off of, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I know for a fact that 3 of the songs I got from Pendulum were Toxic Love, $50, and Ain't Nothing But a Bitch Thing.
Oh yeah.
Eminem diss. And I'm pretty sure. Oh no.
Oh my God, I forgot about that song.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we still got another one, buddy. Sorry.
Is that on Dumpin', the next one?
No. It's on the Pendulum thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know what the 4th track was, so it might have been The Amazing Maze.
But yeah, that was my recollection, is that it was on one of those Pendulum tracks, and that it was one of the early ones or whatever. But I can't remember if that happened before or after this album came out. But in any case, I loved this song, and I still do. I agree with you, Steve. It's great. One of my favorite things about it is that they pay a lot of attention to the atmosphere. So, and those have been other tracks that have done that in the past. Were other tracks that were my favorites. I really like when they're kind of attentive to the environment, so that as you're listening, you actually are going along with this guy through these rooms. And I think on this one is the first time that I think that they're doing Foley, like the sounds in the room of Tax, so great. There's the siren horn or whatever that's blasting, and then you can actually hear the room like moving around, the squeaky wheel or whatever, and all the tacks tumbling around inside the room, and the guy screaming. Really, really great sound work there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard this song. I'm pretty sure, even if I heard it on the Pendulum before, it did not stand out to me until I ripped it and then like was listening to it in juxtaposition of like the Terror Wheel, and then just other songs that like, and then like comparing them to songs off of Great Malenko, where they have these ride, and it was like the perfect ride song. Like, we've heard a lot of ride songs, and this one was, like, the best one.
It's got some really different kinds of rooms, too, and they even go outside, you know, and you can tell that you're outside when it sounds like you're outside, you know?
Yeah.
And the music changes, and the tone kind of changes for the different kinds of rooms, or, you know, there's the sexy room and the...
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's
so
my
whatever,
favorite
like,
song off this album. That's what bothers me, because of the big homophobic part of that part where you said the sexy room. You know, that's where that whole thing begins, and like it's done brilliantly. Like everything about it's funny. Even like listening to it now, I kept laughing, even though I was like, I should not be laughing at this. You know?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to have him like get.
He didn't have to have.
Know?
Yeah, he didn't have to have his O-ring tapped. Oh my God, they said his O-ring. And it's just, it's awful, but it was so great how they did it, and that bothers me because of all the offensive stuff that we've ever like shot down. Like, it always was easy for me to like shoot it down and be even like, no, even if it sounded cool or the way they did it, no, that was bad. And like this one is like, I know that's how I should feel. I wouldn't show this to a huge group of friends of mine because I'd be ashamed, and yet I still like it now when I hear it and think it's great the way they did it, and it makes me feel shameful still.
Well, that's good. That's what life's really like, Steve. None of us is perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right. None of us is perfect. Some of us are just a little more perfect.
Well, obviously you are.
I was fishing for that compliment, so thank you. Yeah, so let's see. So he gets dropped into a room full of tacks. He gets unfortunately penetrated against his will. He opens up a door and gets shot a bunch of times with a machine gun. This one is, you know, not painful, but probably the most disturbing. A tongue comes out of the end of the phone and licks his ear.
No, that's Nightmare. That's a Nightmare. It's Nightmare on Elm Street.
It is. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Who wouldn't?
Both.
I mean,
both of those things.
Yeah.
Right. Then he goes outside.
Well, that's like the least offensive thing.
I love when there's a couple of deliveries of lines in this that I really, really love. And one of them is when Violent J says, "Keep running, time's a clicking on the clock."
Yeah.
Guys, would you be bummed out if you had thumbtacks in your nuts?
Yeah.
Even if it was just a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, just one. That would bum me out.
Yeah.
My knee hurts.
Well, we're almost done. So,
The part that I think is the most fucked up is when he at the end. So he's been all fucked up. He steps in a bear trap, breaks his ankle, he gets shot in the ass with a arrow, and then he looks up and he sees like a window or whatever with his family behind a glass. And they're looking at him chanting, and he's trying to figure out what they are saying. They can just barely hear it, and turns out they're saying, "You fucked up. You fucked up." They're laughing and pointing at him like, "Holy shit! What kind of horrible person is this?"
Oh. So that's
But at least you know what they're saying is true.
Yeah. So the thumbtacks might be a pro wrestling reference, but the "you fucked up" chant is a definite overt wrestling reference in this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're big time ECW fans, and that's where that chant originated. And of course, Jay is very good friends with RVD, according to Violent J. So, yep. And then of course the song ends in a wonderful way with Shaggy telling them to stop singing the jingle because he hates that it's happy, friendly shit.
Yeah, they're wicked clowns or that. Well,
it's supposed to be.
He's right.
It's from the Wicked Clowns.
It's true.
All right, guys, we got one more song to talk about, so shall we get to it?
Oh, Jesus.
Bringing it home.
Yeah, bring the room down here. So we're going to talk about some Old School Perversion Old School Pervert by Mr. Bones. So if you haven't heard that, go ahead and take a listen right now. Oh, it's a song. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to
We're
you.
going to end on this one.
Yeah.
I
What a
know.
bummer.
Well, I mean, we have to.
I have one note.
Yeah.
Lame.
Yep. Yep. It's a song about Jamie Madrox fucking. And that's it.
It's a song where we get to spend a lot of time picturing Jamie Madrox doing sex acts.
Guys,
Hey.
I was trying to get through listening to this album, and as a result, I listened to this song at work.
Did you get fired?
I had headphones in, still felt like a big old creep.
Right.
I felt like, you know what? I felt like Indiana Bones in the Temple of Poontang.
That's the only note that I wrote.
Well, yep. I mean, the less said, the better. This is another track recorded for Mr. Bones' attempted solo album from 96. He had somehow already had a solo album in 95 called Sacrifice, so this was an attempt to put out his second solo album. Didn't work out. Oh well. They put it on this album, so now we have to talk about it. But we're barely going to, so we have the last laugh? Maybe?
Do women listen to this and think it's sexy? Does Jamie Madrox think that women listen to this and think it's sexy?
I'll tell you what, Ryan. You know what it is about Jamie Madrox is he can tell you're coming by the way you scream and moan.
Okay.
And for sure touched a boob. Yeah. Got the C word in here, got the N word, talking about being a pervert. He gets racist. It's a bad song, and it's gross, and possibly the worst song on the album.
I just think it's so interesting that what is like going through this dude's mind, like to write this song first of all, and then to record it, gosh, he just must feel like it's really sexy,
He'll make you wetter than the ocean, which I don't think is possible.
There's nothing wetter than the ocean.
Yeah. It's the most
where
water
all the
we
wetness.
have.
It's where all the wetness comes from.
We have.
There's no more water, man.
Well, it's a bad song, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
The song that follows it on the album is much better, and it's too bad we're not talking about it this week. But...
Yeah, I have two notes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Super Bowl's fifth.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you what.
He says, I'm not going to say it right, but he says, I drop tracks like I'm a needle, and then you're super phony, you're as fake as the fifth Beatle. Or you're fucking phony, you're as fake as the fifth Beatle. Greatest
I'll
one.
tell you what, Pete Best didn't deserve that.
Huh?
Pete Best didn't deserve that.
Oh.
Right, that's a cheap shot too soon.
Unless they're talking about George Martin, in which case he also doesn't deserve that.
What are you talking about?
The fifth Beatle.
The secret fifth Beatle that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Because there was a drummer before Ringo.
I know, yeah. I got that.
Their producer was considered the fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will say this about Meat Cleaver. I will say this about the album Psychopathics from Outer Space. Old School Pervert really puts Meat Cleaver into perspective.
Yeah, well, you know what? Because he says Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, when we listened to the original Most Tasteless, we didn't think Meat Cleaver was very good.
Yeah.
But when it's coming after Old School Pervert, you're like, oh, is this a bracing shot of Listerine? This is making my mouth so fresh and tasty.
And you're like, it's the second Beatles reference on an album.
If I drink a little bit of this, I'll probably get drunk. Listerine. What? Okay.
I've been drinking Listerine all night.
Oh, sweet. Well, on that note, thanks to everybody for listening. We're sorry that this took us 2 episodes, but we had a lot of discussion. And we're very excited. Yeah, I was super excited. It was super important, and we're very excited because next week we get to talk about the first Psychopathic Riders album, Psychopathic Riders Dumpin'. This might not be on Spotify, but I'll tell you what it is on. It's on Bandcamp. Psychopathicwriters.bandcamp.com. You can download this album for free because it is an illegal album comprised entirely of uncleared samples. But you know what? This album starts harder than any ICP album we have listened to date, and it is amazing, and we hope you enjoy it because it's very good and very fun, or at least it is in my memory. And I hope that we don't come back next week and we're like, this was super problematic and bummed us out.
What a bummer.
But I have listened to Dumpin' like 6 times, the title track, so I know that one is very problematic. So we will see you guys next week with that. Until next week, you can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Dim Carnival. Ryan is great at the social medias. And you can email us, dimcarnival@gmail.com. Until next week, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And if you're trapped in the Temple of Poontang, call up Indiana Bones, because he probably knows where all the tripwires are.
Sorry. I was in the locker room at the gym at my work.
Oh, okay.
So
you have a gym where you work?
Yes. It's amazing.
I work
out there every day.
I just want to give you a big fat kiss.
Look, I was changing clothes at my gym, and I was also changing a guy that I work with.
Well, I mean, I've done that too.
Honestly, you guys are in that line of work.
Honestly done that too.